and welcome to your daily dose of Satoshi's news. Today's date is Sunday, the 17th of December 2023, the year of BSV. Buy BSV.live, the best place to buy Bitcoin SV online, the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Let's get into it. Right, so just been surfing the net as you do, finding out what is going on, trying to get to the bottom of stuff, and we found this. So I've got this post by Crypto Tweak, who says Certihash utilizing the original Bitcoin network BSV is designed to accommodate and solve this real world problem. Bitcoin isn't just a token, just like what Craig said, Bitcoin is everything, the future of everything at least. So we've got this little document here. So it says exhibit, so it must be used in evidence here. Capital Asset Plan and Business Case Summary. Exhibit 300, Capital Asset Plan and Business Case Summary, Part 1, Summary Information and Justification, all capital assets. So this is dated the 18th of March 2010. Name of this investment, FBI Network Services. What kind of investment will this be? FY 20117, mixed life cycle. So it says, what was the first budget year this investment was submitted to OMB? Number 8, provide a brief summary and justification for this investment, including a brief description of how this closes in part, in whole, and identifies agency performance gap. This description may include links to relevant information, which should include relevant AGO reports and links to relevant findings of independent audits. Network Services supports the war on terrorism and the crime by providing a comprehensive and responsive information and communications infrastructure for the FBI. This includes the FBI's common user email and file and print services. To ensure continuity of service with latest technology, this area requires upgrading of software on servers and desktops deployed through the FBI and engineering of new solutions for FBI's increasingly complex work environment. Network Services also supports the war on terrorism through secure VTC services for crisis management, operational conferences, and distance learning, and provides video streaming for live distance learning and video on demand to all of the FBI. The Satellite Program Network provides a satellite path and network access to FBI sites in the event of a natural or man-made disaster causing the failure of the terrestrial WAN access. To support secure information sharing throughout the FBI, Network Services conceives, plans, designs, engineers, deploys, and providers network management and control and third-tier support for the FBI consumer user WAN Blacknet, which is the process of converting via GSAs. I wonder what that stands for. Network contract for the current hierarchical network to a new, flatter, more efficient network design using multi-protocol label switching. That's MPLS and IPv6 in the new Next Gen project, to be followed by Next Gen Workstation project. Network Services also provide operations and maintenance services for FBI HQ and offsites in the DC area and field support with technical supplies. This includes installing and configuring network experiment needed for state-of-the-art end-to-end communications, both with and outside FBI spaces, both domestic and global, including encryption equipment needed to maintain secure communications. Network Services directly support the FBI's strategic goal, prevent terrorism, and promote national security by providing a quick and efficient communication and information sharing infrastructure for FBI agents in the field and analysts and support personnel, as well as personnel in other agencies. This fast response enables agents to assemble through concepts and plans and then to execute actions against those who would commit acts of terror or terrorism or crime, and the earliest possible time before, in many cases, before fruition of these acts take place. And then in bold at the bottom A, provide here the data of any approved rebaselining within the past year, the data of the most recent or planned alternative analysis for this investment, and whether the investment has a risk management plan and risk register. All right then. And this was posted above another post here, which we'll look at in just a second. And Crypto Tweaker said here, guys, if you look closer, you'll see a golden nugget in the middle just above IPv6. And remember, this was published in 2010. Okay, so IPv6 was just here, a golden nugget. To support secure information sharing throughout the FBI's network services, conceive plans, designs, engineers, deploys and provides network management and control, and third-tier support for the FBI's Common User 1, maybe that's the golden nugget, Blacknet, which is the process of converting via GSA's networks contract from the current hierarchical network to a new, flatter, more efficient network design using multi-protocol label switching. Yeah. Right, Blacknet, okay. That's probably what we're looking for then, the golden nugget. So then that is attached to this tweet here, where Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, the Oracle of Satoshi, has said Dr. Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto. And then we've got or number, and then the project title, start date, finish date, forecast budget. So Pro 1 Spider, this was 23rd of October 2001. And we'll just bear in mind that the Bitcoin white paper was released on the 31st of October 2008. So this is like 7 years. 7 years prior to the release of the white paper. And that finished in 2003. Forecast budget 750,000. PR02, Redback 1st of February 2002. Pro 3, Triple S 1st November 2001. Pro 4, Blacknet 1st July 2002. And Pro 5, Blacknet 1st July 2004. So I think the Blacknet was spelt in capital letter and then lowercase there. And approved by the company for the responsible officers to undertake the above projects. Name of person giving approval, Craig S. Wright. Position of person, so he's the CEO, Managing Director, 23rd of October 2001. So R&D, Research and Development, Project Plan. So Spider, Project Manager, Craig S. Wright. Date, prepared update, 23rd of October 2001. And then I'm not sure where this is from, but it says here Spider. It is noted that Bitcoin is merely the ledger for the peer internet project started by Dr. Wright in 1998 and registered as Spider, Redback and Blacknet. This was, so maybe it was something to do with De Morgan, Commercial in Confidence, ITOL Project Blacknet, version 1.0, prepared by Dr. Craig S. Wright, Lynn Wright and David Dornbrack. And then we've got the abstract here. So this would be the abstract of Project Spider, I'm guessing, or Blacknet. So a purely peer-to-peer version transaction system would allow online consideration to be sent directly from one party to another without going through an untrusted intermediary. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending and replay. It is believed that a solution to the double spending and replay problems can be found using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. The longest chain not only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As long as the majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure, messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. This enables a decentralized web of trust and a black net of information. Wow, black net of information. Yeah, so this is basically saying that Bitcoin is actually a network rather than thinking of it as a chain. It's a network in a form of a mandala structure. So let's go back to remind ourselves of the abstract of the Bitcoin white paper. So abstract of the Bitcoin white paper, published by Satoshi Nakamoto, Craig Wright. Abstract, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. would allow an online payment, so again he's sort of substituted that word for consideration, to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution, or as he said on the other page, a trusted third party. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work. That sounds very familiar. Forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. The longest chain not only serves as proof of the sequence of witnessed events, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As long as the majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure, messages are broadcast to a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. Wow. So this must be the black part of the Blacknet. Blacknet that was published in 2002. And name of person giving approval, project manager Craig S. Wright. So he wrote that. And it's in the white paper. And people are saying they don't know who wrote it. Well, it's kind of obvious who wrote it. If Craig Wright has plagiarized Satoshi, chances are he is Satoshi. That's massive. That's massive. And what's this down here? It says Craig Wright Satoshi Nakamoto. So we've got here the Wayback Machine, and we've typed in twitter.com Satoshi. It just says so in 2007. I'm assuming this is lots of searches for Satoshi. But the white paper was released in 2008. So maybe this was Craig searching for Satoshis or other one, because he released another paper describing blockchain as time chain, where he used the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Wow. Fascinating stuff. Right. And on to more news here. Craig has responded to this tweet here from Fred Kruger, who has said here, in February, once this starts trading, everything changes. You won't need to worry about keys. You won't need to worry about hackers. You won't need to worry about hardware wallets. You won't need to save backup phrases to save the safety deposit boxes. You won't have to run your own node. Sounds like a centralized system to me. You won't have to spend your vacations at Bitcoin conferences. You won't have to spend your nights on a crypto Twitter. You won't need to pay homage to El Salvador. You won't need to worry about your succession plan, because it'll all be taken care of for you, because it'll be completely centralized. So this is in response to meet the man who, after Satoshi, will have the biggest impact on Bitcoin, Larry Fink, head of BlackRock, because in 2 months, more or less, you'll be able to buy iBTC. I'm presuming they're talking about ETF here. The Bitcoin ETF in every brokerage account in the world. So that means you won't be using Bitcoin, and they'll just be buying Bitcoin on your behalf with the money you give them. Oh my God. And Craig has said sarcastically here, you won't need to worry about the 21 million limit, because it'll be a completely centralized system. So that's massively sarcastic, as in like you will have to worry about it because somebody will control it, and they will inflate it because they want control of it. That's what it looks like to me there. Wow. All right, and the next bit of news here, this is kind of interesting. So Shadows has got this way up on his profile on Twitter. He said, I only became aware of this so-called Shadows email a few weeks ago. I really want nothing to do with this, but seems like I keep getting dragged in. For the record, I'd never heard of this email until recently. I went hunting for it and found it in a 15-year-old personal Gmail account that is full of spam, so I often miss things. The email was from April 2020, but marked unread when I found it 2 weeks ago. It has no message text other than a template disclaimer, just an attachment. Oddly, it's the only email Craig ever sent to this email address. I don't recall it ever being mentioned to me. Seems like an odd discrepancy, given that at the time we emailed frequently to from other addresses. I ran a checksum on the version I was sent for Providence, Shadows at Zbrook VM, SHA-256 sum. Okay. So this is from Arthur Fan Belt. And he's written here, holy shit, Craig Wright is effed beyond recognition. This is the reason why Justice Miller added, is the claim brought by Tulip Trust Limited a fraudulent and an abusive process to the preliminary issue trial in the Pineapple Hack case. It says here, Craig provably committed fraud upon the court. Really? Somehow I doubt that, but anyway. So I've enlarged this, and I'm going to see if I can read it out loud. You won't be able to see it, but I'll read it on what I've got here. So it starts off C, Shadder's email. So point C17 is what it starts off with. The Shadders email is an email dated 17th of April 2020 from Dr. Wright to Stephen Shadders, a pseudonym for Stephen Kofian. Oh, that must be his real name. An individual who at the time was a chief technology officer at Enchain, enclosing a zip file named WillZip something. The zip file contains a number of PDF files and an export of financial data in MYOX format from MYOB, the MYOB data, an accounting and bookkeeping program. C18. The Shadders email was disclosed in the COPA claim by Dr. Wright and subsequently made available to the parties in the BTC core claim, including the ENYO defendants in their capacity as defendants to that claim, pursuant to the order of Mr. Justice Miller dated 12th of June 2023. Point C19. In their view of the COPA disclosure for the purpose of the BTC core claim, the ENYO defendants identified that Shadders' email would be relevant to the claim. As such, on the 8th of August 2023, McFartans, who act for the ENYO defendants in the BTC core claim, wrote to Dr. Wright asking for permission pursuant to CPR 31.22.1b to use the Shadders email for the purpose of their defense to Tulip Trust Limited's claim in these proceedings. On the 6th of December 2023, Travelers Schmitz, solicitors for Dr. Wright and Tulip Trust Trading Limited, confirmed that Dr. Wright consented to the use of the Shadders email in these proceedings. Point C21. Certain of the ENYO defendants have accessed and analysed the file. It includes accounting information from Wright International Investments Limited and the Craig Wright R&D Trust, which Dr. Wright and Tulip Trust Trading alleged became the Tulip Trust in 2011. The data appears to be an export of a native version of the accounting data that was relied upon by Alex Partners when preparing the project Farringdon report. As explained above, the Alex Partners were not provided with a native version but with read-only versions and screenshots. The information provided to Alex Partners by Dr. Wright and relied upon by Dr. Wright therefore showed the state of entries but not when the entries were actually made. Scrolling down a bit here. Point C22. It is possible to extract a journal security audit from the MYOB data, which includes details of when relevant transactions were entered into the MYOB software by using functionality within the software. This journal security audit log is exhibited to my statement. I think that's what it said, my statement. The general security audit log indicates that all of the entries of the acquisitions of the FWX address were entered into MYOB on the 7th of March 2020, not in 2011 or 2014, as mentioned above. Ontaria, that was Craig's previous solicitors, on the instructions of Tulip Trust Limited and Dr. Wright, instructed Alex Partners to give forensic accounting evidence on Tulip Trust Limited's ownership of the digital assets for the purpose of bringing these proceedings in February 2020. These entries were therefore made after Alex Partners had been instructed, but therefore the MYOX file was provided to Alex Partners. The MYOB data can also be used to generate a security session report. The security session report records the dates and times of the individuals that logged on or attempted to log on to the MYOB database. The security session report records that the user administrator was logged into the MYOB database at the time that the relevant entries were made. The administrator logins were immediately preceded by the failed login attempts by Craig at panotycrypto.com. The company information for the MYOB database is Craig at panotycrypt.com. Yeah, and they're saying that's Dr. Wright. Point C24, the evidence I've set out above supports the inference that Dr. Wright misled Alex Partners and Ontario by presenting them with supposedly contemporaneous evidence of his ownership, and then used the same false contemporaneous evidence that the conditions of Alex Partners based on it to mislead the court in these proceedings. Go on to the next slide. So D is correspondence on the Shadows email. Obviously there's just correspondence on it. So D25. In light of the above discovery on the 13th of September 2023, my firm wrote to Travis Smith enclosing the Shadows email stating that it appeared Alex Partners and Ontario had been misled by Dr. Wright by being led to believe the MYOB data was a contemporaneous record when in fact the relevant entries were recorded in 2020. The letter requested Tulip Trust trading something. And then quotes here, 16.1, confirm whether Tulip Trust Limited maintains that the MYOB accounting information constitutes contemporaneous evidence of the ownership of the one FWX address. If it does, please explain the basis upon which it does so, ? 16.2, explain why the General Security Audit on the MYOB data records the entry of the Tulip Trust Limited transactions on 6th and 7th of March 2020, and confirm whether Tulip Trust Limited accepts that Dr. Wright was the author of these entries. 16.3, disclose copies of exactly what was provided to Alex Partners in the form it was provided to them. 16.4, explain why Alex Partners were not provided with access to the live version of MYOB containing the data for the relevant entries or an export from that system in the form provided by Dr. Wright to Mr. Shadows. Something like they were not. Why were they not? 16.5, providing copies of this letter and attached, and in brackets here, in native form to Alex Partners and Ontario, and ask them to 16.5.1, consider the information, and 16.5.2, confirm whether in light of the information provided they wish to update or amend their report, and then in brackets here, in the case of Alex Partners, and I think it's Kavin and Kavin 1 in the case of Kane, and Kane 1 in the case of Mr. Kane. Point D26, on 20th of December 2023, Travis Smith responded to the Enyo's letter, and referring to the letter Travis Smith sent to it's McFarlane's on the 6th of December 2023, stating it is Dr. Wright's position that the MYOX files you refer to, quote here, is merely an incomplete, not forensically extracted file from the live cloud-based MYOB accounting data, as opposed to the latter itself downloaded by Dr. Wright for a different purpose to that which I think that's McFarlane's clients contend. As such, Tulip Trust Limited does not consider the file to be a document that it is appropriate for Tulip Trust Limited to rely on in its claim. Travis Smith did not respond to any of the serious questions raised. Instead, they merely stated that the patterns alleged are being taken seriously and that they, quote here, will overlap significantly with the investigations currently being undertaken by Dr. Wright and his Part 35 expert in forensic document analysis for the purpose of a responsive report due to be filed in the COPA proceedings by 23rd of October 2023. They therefore conclude that once those investigations are complete, we will update you, and then in quote here, and if necessary, the court on the situation. D27, consequently wrote further to Travis Smith on 25th of December 2023. In that latter, we noted that the quote here response does not address any of the questions asked or otherwise address the central allegation that the MYOB data that Tulip Trust Limited relied upon as contemporaneous evidence of Tulip Trust Trading's ownership of the one FWX address in 2011 was in fact entered by Dr. Wright in March 2020. As a consequence of this, we would, and quote here, rely on the matters set out in our letter as a yet further instance of fraud in the conduct of this claim in support of their application for a preliminary issue trial. No response has been received to the letter. And then at the bottom, E, where it says a conclusion, E28, in light of the above, there are serious issues with the documentation that Tulip Trust Limited has relied on as the only contemporaneous evidence that it owned the digital assets on the one FWX address. I believe the above is, in fact, further evidence of Dr. Wright's propensity to commit fraud and produce fraudulent documents for the purpose of furthering court proceedings, as well as further evidence that TTL never had any interest of any kind in the digital assets, and that Tulip Trust Trading's limited claim in this regard are being brought fraudulently, knowing that they are untrue and based on evidence that Dr. Wright knows to be false, thereby abusing the process of this court. And the last one, E29, says, I've already set out a number of factual points that indicate the ownership issue is a suitable for a preliminary issue trial. I believe that this is further compelling evidence that it would be right and just for a preliminary issue trial to be ordered, given the significant volume of prima facie evidence that undermines Tulip Trust Limited's claim to ownership and indicates the claim is being brought fraudulently, and that Tulip Trust Limited and Dr. Wright are abusing the process of this court. Whew. Took me a while to get through that. There we go. So that's that entire document read there. So yeah, spicing up, ladies and gentlemen. There are going to be fireworks. Oh my goodness me. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Remember, largest court case in financial history coming up in 2024. Stay tuned. We'll bring you more. And until then, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one.